Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and joining me today, he just got done updating his social profile on Gaia. It's Justin Hausman!
Is that already, do you already have they rolled that out?
If you open Gaia right now, it'll be right there. We're going to talk about it in a minute. I need to get your input on this. I'm very excited for the Hausman rant that's to come.
I don't know. There'll be one. Okay. I should probably open Gaia. I haven't since I've heard about all the changes.
You probably have to accept a new set of terms that'll be 35 pages long that you should probably read, but you won't.
Right.
And then
your account is now a live feed directly into China's like weird social credit servers.
You are now Putin's nephew.
Yeah. Congratulations, you are have to defend the city of Kursk. Get packing.
There's a ring at the bell, just like a package, like a military kit there waiting for you. Like get changed.
I mean, I did just download TikTok, so I've obviously like softened in my social media like firewall. But we'll get to it. We'll get there.
Well, today we're going to be talking about the new Arc'teryx shop to open in New York City, how old folks are just straight killing it at trail running, and Killian Jornet's latest big accomplishment. Before we get to that, though, we got a few things for you. Please follow and rate The Rock Fight wherever you're listening on any podcast app. Leave us that 5-star rating. Click follow, folks. Just click that follow button. That's such a huge thing for us. We'd so much appreciate it if you just hit follow. And then go listen and follow our other podcast, Gear and Beer, where you should also follow and rate that show. And you can find that wherever you're listening to The Rock Fight. And Justin,
yes,
where else can people hear us or follow along with what we do here at Rock Fight?
Well, you can send us an email to just kind of introduce yourselves, tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you ate that day, what you might eat later. Who do you think? How do you think Russell Wilson's going to do this year?
Super Bowl picks.
Super Bowl picks would be great. What movies have you seen? Please, movie suggestions would be wonderful. I'm really struggling these days, folks. Find something to watch. But anyway, you can email us at myrockfight@gmail.com. And while you're on the internet, why don't you head over to our website, which is at rockfight.co, and you can join our mailing list, and we'll hit you up with all the stuff that you need to know about, shows and things like that, and stuff that we're into, and Colin will draw you a little picture of what his daughters are up to, and whatever. Let's be friends. Let's be internet pen pals.
All right. Well, before we kind of get into things, though, last week on the show, I did talk a little bit about Outside's acquisition of Map My Run and Map My Fitness, that whole suite of apps, as well as their launch of kind of a social media platform into their entire ecosystem. There was some very spicy content over on Reddit, especially as it pertains to Gaia. And Justin, you're a big Gaia fan. So I was kind of curious your take on this move by our friends at Outside.
Well, what's interesting to me is, if they push it out on all the apps that they own, like a little, like basically a tab for it or what have you, or it's like in the background. I mean, I guess that makes sense to a degree. But again, the only things I would ever use in their ecosystem are things obviously I had before Outside owned them. But it's like, if I'm going to go to Gaia, I have a very specific thing I'm doing. Like, I don't also want to get distracted by like a social thing. I don't want to start scrolling. Like, I'm looking, like, it's probably, knowing me, it's probably the night before I'm going somewhere, or even more likely at the last coffee shop with Wi-Fi before I hit the backcountry, like frantically downloading an offline map because I forgot. I'm not going to be like, let's see if like Wes Seiler's written about trucks. Like that's just not what I'm going to do with it. And the same thing, like Trail Forks, I only use Trail Forks literally on the trail. I use it all the time, but I am like on the trail while using it. I'm not going to like read something else. And most likely I'm using it offline. I mean, that's the other thing too, is that if 99% of the time Gaia is on my phone, I'm offline. So that in and of itself is like a huge head scratcher. I mean, if they were trying to shoehorn in some kind of all trails like discussion thing based on like mapped areas, okay. But I again, that's not how Gaia really works, but maybe there's an aspect of it that I'm not familiar with. I mean, again, all I ever do use it for is downloading maps. I don't use it for like, I don't know if they have like customized routes built in, and maybe there's a discussion section around there. Like, hey, I'm going to do the Ray Lakes loop. And like it's already prepackaged for you, and boom, here's a discussion about it. All right. I mean, we like all trails. Yeah. But again, I mean, all trails is freaking huge, and so like clearly people want some kind of something else with their mapping. or whatever. Like clearly they want some kind of discussion level.
I just go back to like, if take Facebook at its for what it is, the best thing it possibly could be. It's like, okay, well, if I'm an outdoorsy person, it's like, oh, I follow outside on Facebook. Right. I can engage this level on the outside page. But then if it's like, oh, a new restaurant opened in San Marcos. Oh, that on the San Marcos page is a thing over here. Like all of my interests are sort of encapsulated there, right? Isn't that kind of like the best of what social media is supposed to be?
I mean, we like at Adventure Journal for a long time when the site was still like part of our what we were trying to do there. Steve and I would talk a bunch about, okay, let's be the like go-to source for everything outside. So not only are we going to do news and stuff, but we're also going to have like big giant checklists for if you're going car camping or backpacking or whatever. Like you can go download it and print it out. We were talking about doing like maps that way too. We were talking about doing, we had a forum briefly that no one really used. I mean, like there is an impetus there that's like, okay, like people are coming to us to read about products and or outdoor news, but like also people are going to All Trails to talk about places they want to go. Why don't we do that too? Like there's you can sort of see the thought process behind something like this, but I don't know. To me, it seems like if I've learned anything about the internet in the last like 10 years, it's that people don't want like a clearinghouse website. Like they like their little like, I mean, I don't know. Right. Like I know for a fact that if I want to talk about backpacking in Yosemite or the Trinity Alps, I can go to my Facebook group. And there's going to be pictures from like yesterday. There's going to be like this. I know the people on it. Yeah. Like I don't like leaving Twitter and going to Blue Sky was terrible because I didn't know anybody at Blue Sky and it's probably great now. And like Threads took forever to get going. Yeah. And I still don't really feel like it's the same, but like you don't want to leave like a little community that you've built online. And so that would be my thing is that like, I don't care. Even if honestly, like whether it's outside or somebody else built like a flawless ecosystem where you're just like, wow, this is amazing. Everything is smooth and it works great and it looks great and the content's great. I guess I doubt I would leave what I'm already used to for that. Like these are important things to me, and so, I'm not really looking for like a new way to consume this sort of stuff. But, again, I don't think we're the target here, right? Like probably as a hardcore Gaia user who uses Gaia the way that he likes to use it, like all I want, like I when I turned on the other day, I'm like, shit, it's different. Like, I don't know, like unless I couldn't find it. Now the only way I could make an area was with a triangular shape instead of like a rectangle one. I'm like, why would I need it? I don't understand why that sucks, but like I had to figure it out. I'm like, so much easier before, like, gotta sound old.
No, but I
sound old.
I think you're right that this is good for the 20 something, 30 something person who's just getting into these sports
and they really want to have someone to talk to about it,
Yeah, I get that, but I also think they market themselves as being the solution for the outdoor community. And I look at, the titles, I don't begrudge them their business strategy of acquiring other titles, and frankly a lot of the titles they acquired probably would have gone out of business if they hadn't acquired them anyway. But when you then kind of homogenize everything, and it's like the voice of what those titles were and why people who did love them loved them, it's like, well, now they all just kind of sound the same, and you want to just like throw it up on like it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'll put my call out again. Anybody outside listening to this, I really am genuinely curious. I would love to talk to somebody over there and be like, hey, here's what we're really trying to do with this, and where we think it'll be. And in 10 years,
they would say what we just said, right? They would say what we just said, but probably with a different, like a more optimistic strategy behind it. I mean, probably. It's also like I gotta think that they're so big that like all the pressures that like a little site like AJ feels or felt when it was still like a going website, it must be magnificently greater. So
someone's funding all this, right?
So it's like you got to try stuff. Like I would agree with Dave. Like I would sink money into content myself. Pay better. Not that they don't have good writers, but like pay better writers more money, or content creators in other ways. If you want to go the full video route, like that's whatever. I get it. And I get that it probably feels like the time is ripe for like a social media thing. But at the same time, I also got to think like the people making decisions are probably like in their 50s. Like, do they really know what like the cutting edge of like the internet sort of usage is these days? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's tough. To me, social media or even just, like the community aspect of all these things is it's an intrusion on something that I already like use and like for a very specific thing. And so like, I'm turned off by that. I mean, like at this point, like I have a lifetime free subscription to Gaia just because I've worked in the outdoor industry. But like if I, like at this point, I'd probably look for something else just because I don't really want to deal with all that. Not because I have like a grudge against Outside or anything like that. I'd rather have a stripped down one that's just my map, please. And like I don't want to have to click through anything. I just want my map.
Well, let's
do that with the rock fight. We'll make an app. We'll just have
force it all in.
I don't know. We'll have like a mapping app.
Great.
Actually, that would be really funny.
Make your own action figure.
It'd actually be really funny to have like just like a stupid bad mapping app. It's like totally wrong.
It only has like one area in like Missouri.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
But it's fucking dialed, dude. Like it is dialed. That map. That map of Missouri is dialed.
Well, let's move on. I think, something we'll keep an eye on for sure. This is but I was definitely curious your take on it, given your technology stance and, wanting to just go back to the Stone Age and just bang rocks and use clay pots and shit like that.
We'd all be happier.
We definitely would. Mm-hmm. I do like my car, though. I got to admit. I like my car.
You're soft.
Before we get to this week's headlines, we need to mention our teammates at Darby Communications. If you run an outdoor, an endurance, or active lifestyle brand, there's no better PR and digital marketing belay partner or beer drinking buddy. I can prove that now. I've had beers with the folks at Darby. Then at Darby, and they can help your business reach new heights, and they might just keep you from falling on your ass. Look, guys, I keep saying this to you. You have to listen to me. If they can help us, they truly can help anybody. Head over to darbycommunications.com today to check out what's going on in Asheville, North Carolina.
Never been there.
Good. I've only been there once.
It's supposed to be amazing.
It lived up to the reputation.
Yeah, but it's great. I'll bet it's great. Yeah. I have a feeling I would really like it.
Yeah, I actually think, you would. You would really like it, actually. I think it would suit you. Yeah. It's like, cool, quiet mountain town, with lots of breweries. Like, boy, I'd hate this place.
Yeah, right. Really good food.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah. All right, well, let's kick things off because we've got a couple of interesting headlines this week. According to Explorers Web, ultra athlete Killian Jornet set a new record last week, summiting all 82 peaks in the Alps that are over 4,000 meters high. He accomplished the feat in 19 days, which breaks the previous record set by climbing legend Uli Steck in 2015. Steck accomplished the feat in 62 days. So that was a hell of a drop-off, 62 to 19. And he used a combination of climbing and paragliding. Killian used a combination of climbing, cycling, and running. In total, he covered 1,200 kilometers, 75,000 meters of elevation gain, and averaged 5 hours and 17 minutes of sleep. I mean, this is obviously impressive. And I actually saw, our friend Kyle Frost and Cody Townsend and some other folks on Threads actually were talking about how this needs more attention. And I think this is pretty cool. This deserves attention. It probably got a little bit lost because UTMB was going on, I think, around the same time as he was trying this. But most of this makes me nostalgic for the days when big accomplishments came regularly from outdoor athletes. I mean, do you miss those days? I know we talk a lot about people taking unnecessary risk on the show, but it's cool when you see a story like that when you go, wait, he did what? That's incredible.
What do you mean by big accomplishments came regularly? Like what?
That's a good question. I don't know. It just seemed like it was always so-and-so paddled off this waterfall, or there was another thing, a cool thing that happened in Everest, or somebody did, and these things still happen if you look at these websites, but I don't know. This one just felt particularly big, and maybe it just felt maybe I'm just sort of waxing poetic around the old days, but I don't know. Do you feel anything at all when you got to read something like this, or is this interesting to you?
So the other day, I was listening to my second favorite podcast, Radiolab, and
they're okay.
And it was a repeat. Oh, it wasn't even a repeat. We just wanted my daughter to hear it. She had just recently ridden a horse, and she's a 5-year-old girl. She loves horses. And my wife was like, "Oh, she'll love this one." And it's the one about the man versus horse race in Prescott, Arizona. Are you familiar with this, Colin?
I'm not. Maybe tell me about it.
So it's been going on for decades, as all good outdoor things were. It was started with a bar bet. Some guy had just run some really far distance in Arizona and came into a bar to get a beer and was like, I just ran this far and this fast. And some cowboy looks at him and is like, well, my horse could do that or whatever. My horse would smoke you. And the guy was like, well, let's find out. And so they ran. Of course, he got his ass kicked. But like the point of the episode, though, is that like why humans are really good at running, right? Like, you know, there's like some biological or some, I think they're biologists or, evolutionary biologists, I suppose, who are, sort of talking about their competing theories about why we're good at running. Either we're chasing down prey animals or we were trying to get to already dead prey animals before other scavengers did. Like,
we evolved to grow a nuchal ligament in our necks.
Exactly. They talked. Yeah. Have you heard this one? Or you've just heard this thing?
No, that was in like Born to Run. And
exactly. And so and they talk about our butts and why they're big and like how most other animals don't have that kind of thing. Anyway, all of that sort of stuff is in there. And then they get back to the race, and like I think it's 50 miles, and like humans will beat some horses during the race, but never in the point in the history of this race had a human been first overall. If that makes sense, like the fifth fastest human might beat the third slowest horse or whatever over the course, but a horse always came across the finish line first, like always, usually well ahead. And so they send us the Radiolab sends some producers out there. They record while they're there. And like there's this runner, I forget his name. I looked him up afterward. He's a real like endurance runner guy who everyone was like, oh, he might set the course record. Like everyone was all like, ooh. And like he shows up in a battered Honda Fit or something, which is amazing. Like slept overnight at the course, got up and like ends up winning by a lot. And everyone is like freaked out. Like they're at all the aid stations and like all the volunteers are always there every year. And they're like, well, the horses should come here any second. And then all of a sudden here comes this dude running. And everyone's like, holy shit, we've never seen a person before a horse here. He wins by like an hour. Now, the reason I bring that up is that to me is fucking incredible. Like that is so interesting. I loved every second of that story. I find that relatable. I find it like scientifically fascinating. I find the guy who did it really interesting. It's historically interesting. Like that is so in my wheelhouse. I just don't care about Killian Jornet's record that whatever this is. I just don't care.
So why do you think that is? Is it because that story was presented to you the way it was in the storytelling? And this is like, and if you had heard the Radiolab version of what Killian did.
Good point. Maybe.
Right?
I've just...
No, I think there's merit there, right?
For sure.
Like how you're told the story versus if you had read like, oh, a guy want to beat a horse, you'd be like, okay.
That's a very good point. That's a very smart point to make. And you very well could be right. I guess part of it is that I feel and that's why I asked you about the big accomplishment thing. Like, I feel like, like legitimate, obvious things, like first to climb Everest, first to swim the English Channel, first to swim to the Faroe Islands, like that stuff is all pretty cool, and I get it. I find that very interesting and inspiring and all that sort of stuff. It just, I guess at this point, it feels like there's a bunch of like super beings who are out there just trying to make up random shit to do that no one's ever done or that is really hard. And frankly, I just can't. I mean, dude, I couldn't do anything in this list. I could maybe like ride my bike from place to place. Because whatever.
I think maybe it was just the fact that it was a little bit more adventure based. And
I think it's awesome that people are doing that. I mean, I think it's super cool. Like that's a cool thing to have. I mean, I can't even imagine what it must be like to look at. Where was this? The Alps.
It was in the Alps, yeah.
I mean, it must be rad to look at the Alps and all these 4,000 meters is 10,000 feet, whatever it is. Like, look at all these peaks, and you're like, I've been on the top of all of them, and I ran to all of them. That's cool. I'm sure that's an amazing feeling. I feel the same way about like FKTs. Like I just don't really care anymore. Like it just feels like there's a new one every day. It's wholly unrelatable. I mean, like I don't go, like we've talked about this before. I don't go outside to set a record in anything. At all. If I did, it would be who had the most fun or who like lounged the hardest. Like it's just not my. I'm not a jockish outdoors person. Like it's not.
How would you measure that?
I don't know.
Who would win the?
I'd like to find out. Like I don't know. But
fuck you! I kicked your ass at laying around.
I mean, again, I'm not trying to belittle Killian. I mean, he's
no. You're actually helping me kind of. I think get to why I liked the story, and I think part of it is. At the same time, the guys like Cody and Kyle and other people I was sort of following on threads were, freaking out a few weeks ago about like, oh, it made the Leadville 100's going on, and then it's UTMB, and it just feels maybe like we've gotten a little, I don't know, it's kind of mired in these sort of regular occurrences. Like, oh, it's time for the Barkley. It's time for this. It's time for that.
And here's this dude who's just like straight up human-powered climbing all this shit. I mean, I get that.
And he's one of those guys who's done some of he's won UTMB 4 times. Yeah. Like, he is one of those superhumans you're talking about. But instead, he's like, hey, you know what'd be kind of cool? I'm just going to go link up all these mountains.
I mean,
and I did it in 19 days.
I think that's great.
I think that was like, oh, that's badass. I just thought that was a little more badass than like,
I agree with that.
He did another race.
I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's not something that, like the cool, I guess thinking about it, like that thing is, anytime you're on the top of a mountain, you see all these peaks, like, oh, it'd be cool to like be at all of them, and I'm not even a mountaineer, but like I'll do a cool trip, a big hike, a high alpine hike, and you see like endless peaks and you're like, wow, someone's probably been at the top of all of those. Like I get the desire and the urge, and if you have the means and you don't have to work a job and you don't have a family, I don't know if he has kids, and you're able to like do that sort of stuff, I would probably too. I have a neighbor down the street who like, I don't know, barely works as far as I could tell. He's like an endurance athlete, and
big Topo Athletic fan.
He's not him, different one. He's constantly like talking to me in the mornings about like what he's like. He's getting into mountaineering now, and he's getting into, like, he got into ski mountaineering. Now he's into now he wants to do regular mountaineering, and finally he's just like, I'm just bored. Like he's straight up. He's like, I don't like I can't just I can't. Like I need something big to do. I can't really do like he used to do all those huge ultra races. He's like radically fit, but you can tell he's like searching. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. I like to go outside and just like fish and like look at the mountains and maybe draw, like, and go for a hike and get sweaty. Like I just do not have whatever it is in you that's like, I need to run faster than anyone else has ever ran through here before, or else. Like I just don't get that. I don't have that. So these sorts of things to me are like, on a personal level, it's impressive. I just really don't, frankly, care that much. Anyway, sorry, that's enough about that. I mean, it's amazing. Killian, badass. I'm sure you listen to the show. Super badass, but just not, right?
He's a big fan. Big fan. We hear from him a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to send him some stickers.
I think he's ever listened to a podcast in his fucking life. Like he probably doesn't sit still for more than 20 seconds.
Yeah, he was, I don't know, he was probably like doing astrophysics in his brain while he was running up the Alps. Like, who knows? Like, what to your point, he's Superman and the Terminator combined. Yep. I mean, like, just, and he seems like a really genuinely nice guy when you see him.
Like that too. I've seen interviews with him. He seems great. Like, yeah. And I think I've emailed with him before. I think, like, super nice. I have no doubt.
Look at you name dropping on the old podcast.
Bro.
Yeah, big deal. Well, another big deal, this is from Canadian Trail Running. They reported on a trend of older runners, defined here as runners in their 40s and 50s, who are performing better as they age, which I thought that's something we kind of knew about, but I wanted to bring this up because I read this article, and you told me that you've been actually starting to trail run with some passion, right?
Yep.
Before you'd kind of been more of like do it for fitness every once in a while. I need to get out and do something quick. I'll go for a run. Now, you attributed that to a pair of shoes, the Nordas you were testing, and you really liked them. But I was kind of reading this. I'm thinking, is there something more there? Do you think was it the shoes that sort of unlocked something for you that you're like, as a guy in his mid 40s, now you're like, actually, I'm kind of just the running is starting to I'm starting to feel it a little bit more, or is it truly the shoes?
Well, there is something about the shoes. I mean, I had never even heard of Norda until I went on this press trip last month, and they're like super expensive Dyneema uppers with like a Vibram sole, and they're just really well constructed, and like we
will be covering them on Gear.
Yeah, and they feel great on your feet, and they feel more like a tool than any other trail runners I've ever had. They're just great shoes. So part of it was that, like, the trail run I did with them on in Boulder was a very similar trail to the one I would do here, and like my feet weren't sliding around like I hate in trail runners. Like I just felt really confident and secure, and it made it fun. So like that's part of it. But I think that there is something to the fact that running, I think it's got to be a simplicity thing. Like, I've talked to other people about this before where, even I live where I do because there's access to good mountain bike trails, even though it's mostly illegal. But like even at a certain point, like, I'm like juggling like 3 part-time jobs right now, and I have 2 kids. Like my schedule's weird. And it's like, okay, I have an hour and a half. It's like, okay, I could spend 20 minutes like getting my cycling clothes on. My cycling clothes?
Yeah, you mean
cycling
like
close? Jesus Christ! No, like
putting socks on instead of flip flops.
Well, no, like putting on my bike shorts and finding like a bike shirt I can sweat in, and like, okay, do I have? Is there sealant in my tires? Does my chain need to get lubed?
No, even if you can ride from your house, it's hour and a half top max.
And then I got to ride to the trailhead, and like it's not fun until I'm at the trailhead. Like it sounds like a stupid thing to complain about. I'm not complaining. It's just that there's more steps. Running, I just put my shoes on, I just run.
There you go.
And so I think that's probably has a lot to do with the age thing. Now, performing better, that's fucking wild. I don't know about that, but I get why like people my age are doing it. Like it makes a lot of sense. Maybe I mean, if these are people that have been trail running their whole lives and they're just suddenly getting better in their 40s and 50s, that is beyond me. I don't know.
Yeah, that's always been the thing. People, like, especially in the ultra community, people like older folks have done well, and obviously I think that's changed as more and more people have done it, and younger folks have gotten involved. But there was a thing about like just the experience and the the patience with it, and it's such a head game to run long distances and all that kind of stuff. But it made me think about it, like, because you're absolutely right. I've always made that argument that everyone becomes a runner. If you're active, you become a runner eventually because of everything you just said, right?
Yeah.
Right. I was really into, I like to do cross country mountain bike races, and then I've got a job where now I've got 3 kids at home and I'm traveling on airplanes every week. So what am I going to do? Come home on the weekend and say, sorry, hon, I got to go ride my mountain bike for 7 hours because I want to do this race in a few weeks? Like, no, that's not going to fly. So what did I start doing? I started running more. And I got really into that. Now, I don't do it as much anymore, obviously, or at all really anymore. But there is, to your point, and that's kind of, I was curious what sort of unlocked for you, because I do feel like when you get into that kind of, the whole flow state thing, I don't know if that's bullshit or not, but like, you get into if you're on a good trail and you feel good and you're kind of just cruising, I don't know if there's really anything else that I mean, it's a little bit like we talk about surfing in a way, when you kind of find that sweet spot where you're like, this is awesome. How do I make this last forever kind of vibe? And I think you can get that from running. And a lot of people maybe never find that, but I think it's just,
no, you totally can. I also think, and I was talking with one of the teachers at my youngest daughter's daycare, who's, I think she just turned like 46 or 47. So, right around our age. And she ran her first marathon like last month. And we were just talking about running in general. Like I see her sometimes on my mountain bike, and like she doesn't strike you as someone who's particularly fit, but she's been running for a while and like is really into it. And we were talking about the fact that it takes a little bit to get into that, to where you can run without it being like painful, and so like I'm in that phase now where I'm like, okay, this is great. Like I used to run a lot when I was younger, and then I'd run sometimes, and if you run sometimes it hurts, but like when you run often it doesn't as much, so like my hips are freer, like everything, like I don't get the weird quad cramps like I used to get. Like it just feels like my body's like, oh, we're running again, okay, great, and like it just kind of works. And there's also probably, especially after listening to that episode of Radiolab, I think there's just something ingrained in us that we just like runing. I mean,
I believe that,
like
too.
Watching my daughter soccer practice yesterday, I mean, it's like all they want to do is run, and like it's kind of an insane thing to think about, that you just stop running at a certain point, I mean, like when
we'll have more on the middle-aged white guy running podcast.
Jesus Christ, could we be more cliche? Jesus.
I just think it is fascinating. As much as I don't run anymore, I still find it a fascinating
topic. What else is great? It's convertible Porsches. Should we talk about that?
That's right. So next week we're going to talk trophy wives and Corvette versus Mustang. Where do you land?
We talk about how much we used to bench. Coming up.
Used to being the operative.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. All right. Well, lastly today, per SGB, Arc'teryx has announced they're going to be opening its largest retail store in New York City on September 6th, which is actually today as we're recording this. So I guess it's open right now. Congrats, Arc'teryx. Most notably, this 2-story location will quote, promote circularity as the future of retail, with the lower floor devoted to the brand's circularity platform, Rebird, a service center that will employ 4 full-time repair operators. First of all, I love obviously the circularity of this. Good for you, Arc'teryx, for prioritizing that. But I wanted to get your thought on Arc'teryx. because like I did a thing recently where I was positing that Arc'teryx had sort of removed themselves from sort of the outdoor conversation. I said they're not an outdoor brand. I mean, technically, of course, they're an outdoor brand. But in terms of like when you talk about who you see on the trail, what you would wear to go on an adventure, I feel like their brand strategy and their retail strategy is completely different. It's frankly more in line with like a Lululemon or an athletic brand than it is, or an urban fashion brand than it is a typical outdoor brand. So as a gear reviewer and someone who spends, their days like neck deep in outdoor stuff, like how do you view Arc'teryx? When you look at them the same way you look at Patagonia or North Face?
Obviously not. You wouldn't have brought it up if like,
well, I don't know. Maybe, you could say, yeah, of course I do.
It's a good point, because I'm struggling to, when I saw this on the outline, I was struggling to come up with an explanation for it. I mean, price point has something to do with it, in the sense that like it's more expensive than even Patagonia for the most part. And so as a gear reviewer, I've always been reluctant to cover things that I'm like, well, most people aren't going to, like, I feel weird like covering a $400 jacket. Well, of course it's good, and like that's a huge amount of money for most people. Like,
yes.
So like that's part of it. Like in the sense that like I don't feel like I haven't always felt the need to like cover Arc'teryx stuff. And you're right about not seeing it on the trail that much. but
some of that could be price as well.
It could also be where I live.
Expensive.
It could be like, I would imagine they're much bigger in Canada and probably much bigger in Europe.
I would think they are.
But also it's like, if someone were, if it was like, hey, this was a life or death situation, 2 jackets. I saw the Arcturus. I would just grab the Arcturus one without even knowing what the other one was.
Because it won't fail.
It's going to be a great piece of equipment. Like the other one could be the Patagonia. I'm going to grab the Arcturus one every time. I don't even know if I own anything Arcturus right now.
I think that to your point about like where you see it and how you use it, like if I said to you, you walked into a specialty shop and like half of their apparel assortment was Arc'teryx, you would look at that and be like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Like, it would be weird to see that much Arc'teryx in a specialty store versus if you saw, I was like, oh, it was all North Face or Marmot. You'd be like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's like, the stuff is great. The vibe is different. I feel like the ads are very, it feels like a Scandinavian brand. Like it feels very serene, or not even severe. Maybe is maybe a better word. Like it just feels like very like cold, not in a bad way. Just like it doesn't have like a bubbly warmth that I associate with like every other outdoor brand. Like I couldn't, like, Rebird is a fun name, but like I'm just trying to think, like if you look at like Patagonia ads, it's like that looks fun. Everything about Patagonia looks fun. They're in a fun place. There's some witty,
that's true,
some kind of funny witty thing about this jacket. Like Arc'teryx is just like, it looks great. It's really nice. It's like, honestly, it's like the Porsche of outdoor. It sells itself. So like, it
doesn't need to kind of win anybody over.
Yeah.
Anymore.
Right. I which is awesome. It's like, I nothing but respect for the brand. Their stuff is
that was the point.
Although I did have some of their shoes once that I hated.
Well, they've just that was part of the other thing we chatted about, or that was in that article. They just took over their shoes because Salomon was making their shoes for them, basically. It's all Amer Sports, right? And so now they have taken it over. They have their own team producing them, and apparently there's been a huge uptick in quality.
Oh, that's interesting.
By a lot of standards.
But Salomon knows how to make shoes.
Yeah, but I think it was a little like, hey, make our Arc'teryx shoes for us. Like, all right, well, here you go.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm sure that it was deeper than that. But I feel like they just removed themselves from the conversation by saying, like, we make really high. They're a little like Apple. Like, even if Apple has a problem, they don't sit there and have to like worry about solving it. They're like, we'll just fix it in the next generation.
Yeah.
And it's like the same kind of thing. Like, they sort of are like, we're making incredibly hardcore outdoor stuff, but we also are going to appeal to the urban, city dwelling consumer. And open our own stores, and now they're like huge in China, right? They're opening stores in China, having a huge response over there.
They got to be big in Japan. It feels like a brand that would be big in Japan. Do you think of anything negative about Arc'teryx? Is there?
No, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Like as a former textile guy, I used to get annoyed at the Valence line, which was like way more than the regular line, but it was a lot of the same fabrics. So you could tell like it was just some total margin play. And I'm like, oh no, this coat's $800. It's
well,
like,
it could be like that. I did have a pair of Arc'teryx underwear that like lasted like a month. Like they just like
just died.
They just like how does this already have a hole in it? This is wild. These are probably $50. But like,
yeah, right.
But I'm not going to judge them based on that. I've only had a few things from them because I've always been like wary of price point. Like, But
yeah, I'm hoping to have their CEO on the show at some point. I've reached out to their PR team. I think it'd be a really interesting conversation of like, from a brand strategy perspective, like they are different. I think it is objectively safe to say that they are different from the rest of the brands who play in the space that we typically cover. So anyway,
there's an Arc'teryx store near me. I've never been in it. Go check it out. But I'm not going to spend $89 on a sock.
Just one sock too.
Yeah,
the pair. Like,
that's coming, right? That's coming. That's got to be. That day's coming.
What, you want both socks? All right, we can wrap it up with the parting shot, man. What's your parting shot?
You go
for this
first
week?
This time. I went first last time.
Okay, parting shot this week I have is for the Kansas City Chiefs. As we record this last night, the NFL season kicked off. The Chiefs won. But I told Justin before we hit record, I was just watching them and I'm like, all right, look, I like Pat Mahomes. He's obviously clearly the best quarterback in the NFL. They've restacked that team, but they've won 2 in a row. I'm over it. It's time for somebody else to win. So they've officially, and then between that and the Harrison Butker like making horrible comments in his commencement address, that bothered me. So they're officially in the, no matter who they're playing, I'm going to root against you can't, because they were playing the Ravens last night, which is a team that I don't like, and I found myself rooting for the Ravens. So Kansas City Chiefs, you're on notice. I'm out on you. I do not want to see you back in the Super Bowl this year. It's time for somebody else to go win the Super Bowl. So that's my parting shot.
Hear, hear.
Yeah.
I'm going to go car related again after my one from last week. And unfortunately, you brought up doing this yourself earlier today, so you're on notice, Colin. But stop fucking honking. It doesn't do any good. Unless you're on like the freeway or something like that. But like if you're in like this is obviously because I never leave my little town. If you're in like a residential area or like a commercial area, the entire block doesn't need to be like blasted with you being mad because the person ahead of you's on their phone. Like fucking stop it.
I take exception to that if the light is turned green and they're not moving in front of me, I will honk the horn.
Nah.
Yeah, no. It's a bop, bop, exactly.
Yeah, but not
it's the bop, bop.
Not like a fucking like it's just the honking. Or like if someone cuts you off a little bit, it's not going to reverse.
Oh, that I agree.
It's not going to reverse time. Like I see this all the time at the coffee shop I work at, where like two cars are like, it's a weird intersection, but two cars are like turning at the same time, and like the one who's like started out laying on the horn. It's like there's people everywhere.
You laugh in that situation. You laugh.
Whoop. Yeah. But like, what do you think is going to happen?
No. Yeah. Exactly.
There'd be no more horns in cars.
That's amazing my wife's still alive because she gets kind of aggro at some of these situations, you know. So,
well, that's the thing is it just amps up the situation. Like, don't fucking honk at me. You know, like half of my road rage incidents were because someone would honk at me and I take offense to it, mostly because it was jarringly loud and it scared me. So you get all mad.
Is there any scenario in our lives where we're more sensitive than when we're behind the wheel of a car? Because the world is out to get us.
I used to be like that.
Goes,
I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. Like I've really let my road rage go, and it is a wonderful thing. I mean, it is wonderful thing. Like I don't even have the impetus anymore. Yeah. But man, it's like someone cuts you off, you're like, okay. Like,
even the guy though, I was saying, I honk my horn at who's trying to make the illegal left-hand turn.
Okay, well
I'm trying to get the attention, like, dude, you should turn right. But it's still more that It's not. I'm not like laying on the horn.
Yep.
I'm with you. I'm with you on this party shot. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Good one, bud.
All
right, man. We can wrap it up there. The Rock Flight's a production of Rock Flight LLC. We didn't have a producer today. He had a meeting. He couldn't attend. But art direction was provided by Sarah, the Commissioner Gensert. For Justin Hausman, I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening. And here to take us out, Krista Makes is back from Rockview, and he's here to sing the Rock Fight fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters. Rock Fight!